Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here, TGI Sports Talks, Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook. I'm joined by my co-host, Boxing Hall of Fame writer Jack Hirsch, and also sports guru, we've decided Jack is. So we're actually finally got live on Facebook. So we welcome everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and you can see some of our favorite groups scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Jack, how are you this fine Monday morning?
Hey. Kind of very good with mixed emotions. So maybe the word very good doesn't sound well. You know, the Jets finally win a game, but the situation with Nick Mangold, you know, it's a bit of a downer. You know, great Jet. Yeah, and I think Rex Ryan was saying it best on ESPN. Mangold played for 6 seasons, and Ryan was really choked up emotionally.
You could see that.
And Nick Mangold was one of the greatest Jets in team franchise history. One of the greatest Jets. And position for position, he was just about as good as anyone.
This story broke just before, game time. Sometime in the pregame show. I know I saw it on the TV where I was. Young guy, 41 years old. I didn't realize he was having these health issues, actually, until I'd heard he passed. Emotional for Jet fans. Great player. Never got to play on a championship team, unfortunately. One of those great Jet players who didn't. Does this translate? Again, the nice game for the Jets to kind of put it towards the nice comeback for the Jets. They were trailing this entire game till the fourth quarter where they scored 23 points. Aaron Glenn must have played with Nick Mangold, I'm thinking, correct? Does this team even have a recollection of who Nick Mangold is?
Yeah, he was a little before. Aaron Glenn was a little before Nick Mangold. I'm pretty sure that, but you could check up on that. But he was a little before Nick Mangold, I believe. But Nick Mangold, great center. You know, with the Jet game yesterday, they didn't win it for Nick Mangold per se, but it kind of honored Nick Mangold, them winning the game. And the enthusiasm level that the Jets showed for Aaron Glenn, reflected very positively on the coach. And the NFL's about closing games out.
Yeah.
People tend to just look at the record. And the old Bill Parcells line you like to use, you are what your record says you are. That's correct. If you finish a season and you're like 4-13, I don't want to hear that you could have won 6-7 more games. Yeah, you can mention that the following season when you're making your preseason predictions. We were so close to winning these games. I think we're going to win some of them this year. It's okay from that perspective to use it. But yesterday, the Jets defense did something they haven't done the last, 2-3 years. They closed the game out. They came up with a defensive stand. And they won the game. And I'll be honest, when the Bengals had the ball for the last possession, I wasn't confident at all. I'm thinking, here we go again. They have Evan McPherson, a great field goal kicker who could kick from long range.
Yeah.
And they have Jamar Chase, bottom line. They have the guy who I think right at this moment is the best receiver in the game in Jamar Chase at this particular moment. I might say Justin Jefferson next week, so don't hold me to it permanently. And I thought Flacco would do enough, to get him the ball, hit some short passes, and I could see McPherson hitting a 58-yard field goal and the Bengals winning at the end. And then I wouldn't have wanted to hear any of the nonsense about how well the Jets played, how they came back. I wasn't going to tolerate any of that.
You got pretty close to, yesterday, we talked a moral victory. You got pretty close to talk about moral victories yesterday.
No. The only time a moral victory is going to count if you really have a team that's been terrible a long time and they're finally showing signs of improvement and they play one of the best teams in the NFL and give them all they can handle. And you expect your team to have a terrible year because they're not ready yet. And they're trending towards improvement. I give you a moral victory on a rare occasion, but that's about it. The Jets have used up all their moral victories long ago.
I mean, it's nice winning. At this point, you need a win, right? And it's amazing. I jumped off the bandwagon of you got to win somewhere. Why not here yesterday? And they do win, of course. But, you didn't play the best team in football. Obviously, this is a team with a pretty porous defense. And the Jets defense wasn't good yesterday either. But they run the ball really well. Breece Hall has his best game of the year, his best game in a while. Fields played okay. Didn't play great, played okay.
He played well. He played very well. I mean, guys, let's give Justin Fields his due.
He just
played very well.
Did he win his job back yesterday?
I mean, how can you not start him next week?
I think you have to.
How can you not start him? My beef with Justin Fields is this. He's not a bad quarterback. At Chicago, he was with the Bears for 3 years. And when you're quarterbacking a team for 3 years and they're not sure whether to move on from you or not, it means you're not a bad quarterback. He never really fully lost the job with the Chicago Bears. What happened, the number 1 overall draft pick fell into the Bears' lap, and they had a decision to make. If they were going to keep Justin Fields and not use the number 1 overall pick on a quarterback, that means 1 year down the line, they were going to have to pay Justin Fields big quarterback money if they were going to continue with him. And they didn't feel comfortable doing it with him because he hadn't proved he'd earned that. And he'd been with them a while. So they decided to pay Caleb Williams on the rookie contract. So what the Bears did was partially financial, and large part of it was financial as well. He goes to the Steelers. A lot of people in Pittsburgh thought Fields should have been given more of a chance to be the starter because he didn't perform poorly with the Steelers, Keith. He wasn't bad, but he obviously Mike Tomlin correctly saw something that Fields wasn't going to be his future quarterback. Yeah. And at the end of the season, the doors seemed open for Fields to maybe even go back to Pittsburgh, but no promises were made. You can win with Justin Fields if you have the right type of team around him, and he can sometimes come up with a great effort and lead a team to a victory, but is he the guy who's going to ultimately get you to the Super Bowl? He's not quite that type of guy. He's a screener. Too good to be a great team. Not good enough to be a true impact starter.
If he played on the 85 Bears, he might actually get to a Super Bowl. But other than that, I mean, he could be, as you said, on a really good team and the right kind of offense, he could be an efficient NFL quarterback. But he can't lead you to win week after week after week. He did win.
I don't want to hear the silliness. Well, look at Trent Dilfer. He led the team to a Super Bowl.
So
listen, I'm going to throw this at you now.
Defense since the 85 Bears.
The quarterback you like the least, Brian Hoyer. Had he been the Patriots starter during their 6 Super Bowl wins, he would have won at least 1 Super Bowl if he was in Brady. So 1 Super Bowl.
I don't know that I'm willing to go that, but I don't hate Brian Hoyer, by the way. He's not my least favorite quarterback. I have a lot of others, but he is not. I don't think they win a Super Bowl with Brian Hoyer, quite frankly.
Not 1 Super Bowl in those 6 Super Bowls.
I don't
think
they
won 11-5 with Matt Castle 1 year with Brady.
Listen, I understand that. Matt Castle is a better player than Brian Hoyer. And Josh McDaniel is a great offensive coordinator. Bill Belichick at that time was a great head coach. And I think they can win Super Bowls without Tom Brady. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I don't think Brian Hoyer was winning any Super Bowls.
Well, Danny, Fields can't be on that short a leash after yesterday. He bought himself some more time. He's going to start next week. It would be ludicrous. They just have a bye, but the week after, it would be ludicrous to start Tyrod Taylor over Justin Fields. Tyrod Taylor is not the quarterback of the future for the Jets. No. He shouldn't be their quarterback next season. Why on earth would you want to start him up with Justin Fields? The team rallied around Justin Fields, and what are you going to do? Put him on the bench? It's not even an issue for next week. I mean, there's no controversy. We don't have to wait. We shouldn't wait for any type of announcement.
And Danny's right. Neither of these guys is the quarterback of the future. I think the Jets know that as well. They never went into the season thinking they were.
But sometimes, Keith, a guy finds a landing spot. It does happen. It happened with Daniel Jones this year. It happened with Geno Smith. That's maybe a better example because Geno Smith had kicked around the league a while. We never thought he would be a starter, again in the league, and he'd be a starter for years to come with Seattle and now with the Raiders, even though he might be playing himself out of the job with the Raiders.
Anyway, the Jets, look, they're 1-7. It's gut check time, right? You mentioned them playing for their coach. If you want your coach to stick around, now's the time to kind of really step up and start at least being competitive. And they showed yesterday, they could have quit yesterday. They could have quit in that game, and they didn't.
And the offensive play calling, the chances they were taking. I wasn't crazy about all the chances Aaron Glenn was taking on the 2-point conversion when he did. The option pass by Breece Hall, that imagine that was intercepted at the end. People would have been exasperated, on that as well. They took chances, and it paid off. And if we were going to criticize Aaron Glenn over the chances taken, we should praise them because they worked out.
They did work out for sure. And when they don't, you get blasted. You might as well get credit when they do work out. You mentioned something, too, real quick. It seems to be an epidemic of college and pro coaches chasing points on these 2-point conversions early in games, middle of games where they don't need to do it. And I understand, all right, the analytics say you got a better chance of winning games with 2-point conversions than kicking one. But that's if you do it every single time. If you want to do it every single time and that's your strategy, God bless you. But the way they pick and choose early in games, they're going for 2 to make it a 10-point game instead of a 11-point game. Just stop. I mean, take the points until you have to go for 2. It's just stupid.
Well, even yesterday, Aaron Glenn goes for the 4th and 1 in his own territory. And it doesn't succeed, but that was fine. They took a chance. It didn't succeed. They gave the Bengals a short field. The Bengals get a touchdown. Okay. But then later on, the same exact situation, but you're deep into Bengal territory and you kick a field goal.
Yeah,
I just don't get it, the difference.
I like to see consistency in that type of approach, right? If you want to be aggressive, but you can't
The Jets won. Bottom line is they made a big defensive stand at the end. Justin Fields, Breece Hall was great. You got the feeling Justin Fields and Breece Hall were the only 2 big weapons, and they were like working in tandem. You got that feeling. But the other players stepped up on the team too. Great team effort by the Jets. Congratulations, their coaching staff, everything. And Keith, you no longer have to look at the schedule to try to find one win for them in the season.
1-16.
No, they're going to win some more games.
They will.
They're going to win some more games. But I'm always concerned, Keith, and then we'll get off the Jets, creating an illusion. They could win 5-6 more games this year. They're 1-7 now, meaning they have 9 more games left. The Jets could go 5-4 the rest of the way, and people are going to get excited. But it could be all an illusion. You want your team to be taking the proper steps towards being a true Super Bowl contender. And no matter what the Jets do the rest of the way, I don't see them being anywhere near that territory.
No, I don't. They're going to have some work to do to win 5 or 6 games, that's for sure. But anyway, you get that one win. You get that monkey off your back, suddenly you start playing a little loose.
They play Cleveland next week. That's a winnable game.
Win. Yeah.
Then they play your Patriots. And you never know in a game like that.
It's a rivalry game. The rivalry game.
New England is overachieved. The Patriots, for what they have going for them, the Patriots is a cushion.
Let's segue to the Patriots and the Browns in a way, because I got to tell you something. The Patriots put up 32 points yesterday. That Brown defense is really, really good, especially that front. I mean, they only got to Drake May, I think. They got to him 6 times yesterday.
Myles Garrett, 5 sacks, right? He
was under pressure all day, though, and that defensive line is just tremendous. They played really well. It was only 9-6 at halftime, but the offense just is not good. The Patriots defense played well, and the Browns defense played poorly. But a really efficient, even better than efficient game from Drake May. No, one interception. It was a bad interception, but 3 touchdowns, very efficient, gets out of trouble. They ran the football pretty well. Travion Henderson had his best game as a pro, and they really featured him a lot more yesterday, which I was happy to see. Again, their wins have come against, except for Buffalo. We're gonna get the Buffalo right after this. Have come against lesser teams, but this team is 6-2, and there's some very, very winnable games in front of them. I had 9 wins. I keep moving that up like every week. They've already
There's
lost
some winnable games, but they are not winning the division. I'm going to tell you this now. Buffalo's going to beat them in the rematch and win the division, but the Pats have the cushion.
They
the
do.
Pats are one of the, I mean, when you look at the wild card race, they have a little bit of a cushion. If the Patriots get into the playoffs, let's say hypothetically they're 10-7 when all is done, and that wouldn't be so great now. That means they'd become
it would look good now.
the rest of the year.
Nope.
Or whatever the record is, and they get eliminated in the first game. The season's been a major success because it meant that Mike Grable got them back on track to be a Super Bowl contender. And who knows, maybe they'll improve further as this year goes along, a lot further. Like you mentioned, Drake May being under pressure, but he managed to get the job done. And the really good quarterbacks manage to get it done, even though they're under pressure. They have certain checkoffs. They buy a little extra time. And Drake May seems to be that type of quarterback. He makes his share mistakes, and he's still in the learning curve.
He's him down, though. He's thrown 3 interceptions. He's only thrown 3 interceptions all year. That's pretty good for a young quarterback. So,
yeah.
And you're right, Danny. I've already mentioned the fact that they've got 1 win, but I'm going to tell you, they are getting better. The problem is they're getting better every week. They're not just beating these bad teams. They're beating them up now. They lost to the Raiders, which was a bad team. They lost to the Steelers, which I think is a bad team, early in the year, but they've gotten better. And Drake May, to your point, Jack, he does make stuff happen. And where he's really gotten better is last year and even early this year when he would get in trouble and he'd start to run, his head was down and he was running. Now he's looking to make a play when he's moving around in the pocket, and he's doing it. And Diggs has played well. Butte stepped up. Listen, I think this is a team, and the defense is playing better since Christian Gonzalez got back. Again, not a lot of quality victories. I'll give you that. They're going to have their chance, though. They get Atlanta at home this week. Maybe that's not a quality victory, but it's a better victory.
I don't care who the wins are against.
2 weeks in Tampa Bay. That's going to be a big test for them right there.
Keith, there's no game that's an absolute gimme in the NFL.
I agree, 100%.
I mean, look at the missed opportunity for the Cincinnati Bengals. They were playing the Jets. They were probably thinking, okay, we'll win this game. And then they were peeking ahead in the schedule, I'm sure. And the bottom line is the Patriots did beat the Bills in Buffalo. That's a monster victory.
Jack called the Bills game yesterday.
I don't think the Buffalo would destroy him the way they did.
Well, listen, I want to go to this game next because everybody except me was ripping the Bills for their run defense yesterday. Am I wrong? Brian, I don't know, maybe Brian didn't. You and James were all over their run, especially James, all over their run defense, their defense in general. Their defense played great yesterday. I know it's Carolina. Yeah. All I heard about was Carolina.
Run defense.
This team played great. They finally got Cook more involved in the offense, as I said they should yesterday. And he goes crazy for 200 and some yards and a bunch of touchdowns. And they only gave up 110 yards or so rushing. This is still a really good football team, and they destroyed. They didn't just beat Carolina; they destroyed Carolina.
Right. I didn't see them totally wiping Carolina out. I thought Carolina would at least compete, But when a team as good as the Buffalo Bills and you've lost 2 games in a row and then have a bye week, you're not going to come back and lose to the Carolina Panthers of all people. They're not just going to keep running the ball down your throat. And with Andy Dalton, their quarterback, is Carolina really going to beat you with the passing game? And, Buffalo's going to be there at the end making a serious run at the Super Bowl, whether they get there or not. I mean, it remains to be seen. But
And they did. Danny mentioned this on the show yesterday too, about their defense. They got two important starters back on defense yesterday. This is not a horrible defensive football team.
But I will say this for the Buffalo Bills: they are under a lot of pressure in this sense. We were talking about New England a moment ago. If they don't beat New England in the next matchup and things stay the same as they are now, and Buffalo's 1 game behind, and New England goes up 2 games with the tiebreaker, that means New England has to make up 3. Buffalo has to make up 3 games, and at that point, that might be just too big a mountain to climb, and the Bills might actually enter the playoffs as a wild card, not in a good position. Maybe they'd have home field the first playoff game, maybe, but then they'd have to do it on the road.
Yeah, we'll get into Brian Kelly in a second, Rick, I promise. Sticking in and by the way, I think this division comes down to that game in Buffalo or in New England near the end of the season. Buffalo coming into town. I think that's
the home field advantage hasn't worked out for the Patriots.
Well, they're 2-2.
I don't look. You say you mentioned it's in New England. Yeah, you'd rather be home, of course. The Patriots would have a better chance of beating the Bills in New England than they would in Buffalo, even though they've already done it in Buffalo this year. But I think home field is a little overstated because the weather's going to be similar to what it would be in Buffalo.
First of all, I didn't say there was any home field advantage. I just said it came down to that game in New England. That's all I said.
Well, you inferred it. You kind of inferred it.
But you can infer it because I always do think there's a home field advantage. I'm a much bigger proponent.
You'd rather always be home. It's always a tiny advantage at the least.
Is that game in December? Because they play great in December at home as well. At least they did when they were good. So we'll see how that goes. Now finish
They're
up.
Good now. They're good again. I gotta give the Patriots credit. Grable has them ahead of schedule.
I'll tell you, it's just the whole culture's changed there, and it's just wonderful to watch. Joy on that team.
But the difference is, I'm sure no one in New England seriously thinks they're going to the Super Bowl. But next season, they're going to be seriously thinking Super Bowl. I think everyone is happy just to see the tremendous improvement and to think Patriot football is back.
Yeah, as we stand today, I'll be happy with a playoff spot and a possible victory. Could change. That could change before the season's out if things continue the way they're going. But again, because you're always a moving target all the time, right? Expectations.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But for the most part, you're right. And just to close out the East, Miami gets a win yesterday, an impressive win, big win. I lose, by the way, at Atlanta yesterday in a $125,000 survivor pool. Thank you.
Well, people listen to me. I'm debating with James Martin on the show. And James is a knowledgeable guy.
Yes.
But I've been saying for the longest time, Kirk Cousins is the answer to nothing. He's gassed. It doesn't mean Kirk Cousins can't play a good game now and then. But these guys like Kirk Cousins was benched last year because he's playing terribly. And I don't want to hear, he was hurt last year. Well, then don't play. And I don't want to hear, he didn't tell the coaching staff he was hurt. Well, that's on him then. But yesterday, what's the excuse? He was terrible yesterday. Kirk Cousins, again, he's capable of playing a good game now and then, but he's not your answer to anything.
No, and I have to agree. And I had said that last year he played, and it's still a fact, he played really great football until he got hurt. But the injuries are no longer an excuse, and you got to step up in that situation, especially if you want to play. So
I don't know where you get the great football from at any point, but
he played great football for about 7 weeks last year.
I don't remember that. I remember him being horrendous for a few games and being benched.
That was after he got hurt. That was like in the week 8, 9, 10. That was late, maybe even later than that. But he played really, really good football for the first 2/3 of the season. Okay. Go back and look. It just happened that way. And I just wanted to touch on that because Atlanta didn't show up and they cost me a shot at $125,000. Thank you so much.
Okay, give Mike McDaniels a little credit. We talk about the Belaga Jet coach, Aaron Glenn. Look at Mike McDaniel. No one was calling for Aaron Glenn to get fired at least.
No.
But Mike McDaniel was so on the hot seat. It would have been big news. Miami loses again. Is he going to get fired? they win a game, and let's see. Miami doesn't have a good team, but they badly needed that win, and it was decisive too, Keith. I mean, really decisive. What do you think if you're the Falcons? If you can't win this game, where are you going the rest of the year?
That was pretty ugly.
If Cousins was ever on the Jets the starter, it would be a waste of time. Waste of time moving forward with Kirk Cousins. He's a little better than Tyrod Taylor, perhaps, but that's about it at this point. It's a waste of time. You want any team should want a franchise quarterback. They shouldn't want a Band-Aid on the position.
And Danny, that's why I kind of stuck with that Miami game. The only reason to point out the AFC East was undefeated yesterday. I'll pivot to Indianapolis because Danny put the comment up. Another impressive win for the Colts. Not a great team, but Taylor is just amazing. He might be the best player in the league right now. He's a league MVP, and his quarterback isn't far behind him. Another 3 touchdowns and pretty much a perfect game at quarterback. This team's the best team in the league right now, I think.
Daniel Jones should be a clear distance behind Jonathan Taylor if you're talking about MVP.
I agree.
A clear distance. Daniel Jones is having a wonderful year. I don't think any other quarterback have done a better job with the Colts up to this point than Daniel Jones has done. Don't get carried away with Daniel Jones. He's not an elite quarterback. He's running the team great. He has Michael Pittman, Tyler Warren, and the great Jonathan Taylor.
Has he played games like an elite quarterback? Has he played 8 games like an elite quarterback this year?
He absolutely has. I said a moment ago, no other quarterback could have done a better job. But Jonathan Taylor's doing for the Colts this year what Saquon Barkley did for the Eagles last year.
100%.
And Daniel Jones is riding it. He's not making any mistakes. He's managing the games great, and he's making some plays too beyond just managing the game. Kudos to Daniel Jones. And if Daniel Jones could carry this out the rest of the year, and even if they lose in the playoffs, if Daniel Jones plays reasonably well in the playoff game and they lose it, it's not a complete disaster like what happened with Sam Darnold 2 games in a row. If I'm the Colts, I decide I'm moving forward with Daniel Jones as my franchise quarterback. But let's wait and see with Daniel Jones yet. It's half the season. We know his history. It's easy to jump on the bandwagon. Everyone jumps on the bandwagon because they're scared they're going to look bad while a guy is going good if they're questioning him.
Well, he's got to stay healthy for 9 more games, too. That's all. That's
exactly. There are factors involved.
Yeah.
Staying healthy it's part of the issue. It's part of a guy's history. Look, we love Joe Burrow. He's a great quarterback. But, if he had to be my franchise quarterback, would I take him the snap of a finger? But I'd be apprehensive because of his injury history.
Of course.
If the guy's not on the field, how is he going to help you?
Of course. And to Danny's point, I think the end of the season, right now, I say they're the best team in the AFC. I'm not saying they will be the end of the year. I think the Chiefs will be the best team in the AFC by the end of the year. They're rounding out. We'll see tonight. I'm
going to tell you who I think is going to be the best team, and you're going to laugh by the end of the season. I'm going to hold to my prediction, the Baltimore Ravens.
You know what? They're not out of this. They win yesterday.
2 games out. They're 2 games out of first place. They're 2-5.
Yeah.
Well, after winning yesterday, but the Ravens, the rest of the season, I could see the Ravens, going. I'm not losing more than 1 game, certainly not more than 2 games the rest of the year. 10-7 is going to be good enough to win that division.
Yeah, maybe 9-8.
9-8 might win. It might be as insane as this sounds. 8-9 might get you a tiebreaker.
It might. Listen, and you're right. 2 games out with 9 to play is not out of this. And Lamar Jackson should be coming back.
Lamar Jackson coming back. They're energized. Yeah. And the bye helped them. People underestimate the value of a bye, Keith. The Ravens have lost 5 in a row, and they weren't even competitive in most of their losses. They were messed. They have a bye. They come back refreshed, and under Tyler Huntley, they beat a decent Chicago Bears team. The Bears are decent. Nothing's but they'd won 4 in a row. The problem with the Bears too many fundamental mistakes, constant penalties, this and that. But it was a big win for the Ravens over, a decent team.
It is a decent team. I have to start pulling back on my support for Caleb Williams because he's not a rookie anymore. He's a year and a half in. We see Drake May getting better. I'm not seeing Caleb Williams getting better.
You're not getting better. Well, he's getting a little better, Keith. That's a little harsh. He's getting a little better.
I feel like he's missing his accuracy is not what it ought to be, and I think he misses too many plays he needs to make. And Danny, I know Dan's not been a big supporter, and I've stuck with him, and I'm starting to pull that support away just a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit.
Yeah, but Caleb, well, give these guys, some of these guys a break. In the second season, sometimes it takes 3-4 years to fully develop.
I agree.
But the question is a team going to have patience to stick with the quarterback that long? In the case of Caleb Williams, the Bears will. The Panthers nearly gave up on Bryce Young. But the more Bryce Young played, I know he was out yesterday with the high ankle sprain. He was getting better at the end of last season. He was doing some good things this year. Sometimes you need to ride the wave for a long time with a guy.
Well, there are guys that don't, Drake May's made that jump quicker than some guys will. I get it. But, at some point you just can't. They shouldn't be losing this game on the road without Lamar Jackson playing, in my mind. But Ravens still alive, as you said. Let me go to the Giants quickly. We'll chat about a few of the other games and move on to some World Series talk and Brian Kelly. The Giants yesterday played the Eagles. Kind of what I expected to see happened. Jackson Dart didn't play badly. But the Eagles and Barkley they're just a much better team. And I think it really deflated the Giants when Scatterbo got hurt. And that was a gruesome injury. This may not be a 1 year or he may not play next year. This is a bad injury for Scatterbo.
Oh, it's a shame. We got to assume he's going to come back next year.
I'll try, but this is not something that may be a quick recovery thing. That's a bad injury. If you saw it, I don't want to see it again. I hate to see those injuries.
Oh, no, it's terrible, and I nearly feel guilty talking about the game with the injury to Scatterbo, because that breaks your heart to see something like this. We send along, our best wishes, for him for the quickest possible.
100%.
But the Giants, when they beat the Eagles a couple of weeks ago, and they beat them soundly, impressively, on their home field, and then they get off to that big lead against the Broncos. I'm thinking this Giant team maybe it's finally arrived. They have so much upside. They might even contend for playoff position this year. The future finally has arrived for the Giants. Then they blow that game to Denver. But then I thought they were going to bounce back against the Eagles. I didn't think they were going to beat Philadelphia, but I thought they would give Philadelphia all they could handle. And I even said I could see the Eagles winning in overtime, 30-24, because I thought the Giants were going to show resolve. They didn't show resolve. That touted defense.
Awful.
And you think those elite pass rushers, they're inconsistent. They're the same old Giants.
It's not even just the pass rushers, though. You can't give up 280 yards rushing and win in the NFL. You just can't do that.
And I'm getting sick of Brian DeBall having fits on the sideline, throwing down his headset and all that. And you kind of wonder with Brian DeBall, is his job, Keith, you tell me, 100% tied to the development of Jackson Dart? Is the thought, well, you can't move on from DeBall because he's developing Dart, and as long as Dart's improving on the DeBall, it's worth keeping DeBall? Or do you disregard that and just make a coaching change if this continues? They're 2-6, Keith. 9 games to go. Once again, I don't want to see the Giants finish, 7-10, and we hear, they played so well at the end. Look at the improvement. We got that last year from them.
He can't. Well, if they go 7-10 and Dart does improve,
I agree.
He's keeping his job if that happens.
I'm wrong. I do want to hear that.
But if they win, if they go 3-14 or 4-13, and he's just okay, he's out of here. He's gone. They got to win games too. They can't just go okay, Dart's better. We lost every game the rest of the way out. That's not going to happen. Then they're going to win some games. Rick's right. They don't have weapons, especially now with Scadaboo gone. I don't know where the running game's going to go. Wandale Robinson has stepped up, I think, and him and Dart have a nice connection. Not a big day yesterday, but I think that, and he's been a bust since he came here from Kentucky, but he's really developing into a decent player. So I think he's got one weapon, but you can't win with just one weapon either. So
I don't know when I call that a weapon exactly. Malik Neighbors was a weapon, and
Neighbors will be back next year. This team will be better. Wandale Robinson developing the way he is going to give them a decent second option next year when Malik Neighbors is back. It's an important element, I think.
I think the ball is going to be the coach as long as they can win 3-4 more games this year and just be competitive, and Dart keeps improving. And I'm not necessarily against that. If I were the Giant owner, I'm not sure whether I would move on from the ball. I try to keep an open mind. It's easy to say, oh, just fire a coach. But I need something more conclusive. Look, I don't know whether I'd move on from Mike McDaniel or not if I were the owner of the Dolphins. Quite honestly, you have to know what's going on in the locker room, and you have to know how hard the team is playing and what kind of upside they have. Are they competitive or not in the games that they're losing? And I don't mean moral victories, of course not, but are they competitive? Can you see them turning a corner the following year? But the problem with the Giants, some people thought they could turn a corner this year, but I think they gave the ball's going to get a pass because of Jackson Dart. It's his development. As long as Dart's got all this potential, there's going to be hope in Giant land.
Possibly. Speaking of better teams, one game that I was very impressed with, the Broncos got off to a very slow start this year. Their defense still a work in progress, but Bo Nix has got it back together. 4 touchdowns yesterday. They kind of roll over the Cowboys. They're 6-2. And quietly have improved. Early in the year, this team looked like it was going to be maybe a down year for the Broncos. But
no, I thought they'd make the playoffs, Keith. No, they made the playoffs last year. I didn't think they thought it would be a down year.
Early, I didn't say before the season, but early when they were playing badly, and Bo Nix looked like he was having a little sophomore slump, and the defense still not playing well, but was playing even worse than they are now. This team now is suddenly 6-2 and in first place, I believe, now in the West. So. A much better team. Any thoughts on that or any other games that are?
Yeah, Dak Prescott didn't play well for the Cowboys yesterday. Some ill-advised throws, and
that's the worst defense in the league. The Cowboys are the worst defense in the league.
Yeah, them and the Bengals in a way you could get a little bit of a debate there, but Denver's going to be there at the end of the year. I mean, they're going to be in the playoffs. How far they go? It's a big question. The AFC is really wide open. I know a lot of people are going to start leaning towards Kansas City if they win tonight, which I think they will do. They're playing the Washington Commanders. But it really is wide open. It doesn't seem to be, and even the NFC is wide open. You look at, you just look at the teams who are the favorites there. You look at the Eagles, the Lions, the Packers, the team I think is going to get to the Super Bowl, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You can't discount the Los Angeles Rams completely.
No, there's a lot of good teams in
a lot of good teams in both conferences. It's fun to see who's going to get to the Super Bowl. Out of the AFC and NFC, we might get one team we don't expect to get there. You and I, they might be our 5th choice in that conference, and they might actually get there. Maybe Denver would be. And if you and I were in school and we're given a piece of paper by the teacher, list in order the teams in the AFC and NFC most likely to go to the Super Bowl. Before we know, you or I might list Denver as the 5th most likely to go from the AFC.
I might list them 6, quite frankly. So yeah, it's a very good point.
Well, the teacher would tell me off in front of the class because I'd have to jest as if to something,
Yeah. You'd be eliminated.
Seriously,
You'd be eliminated already. Danny's got our, CA's got our darts. Congratulations to, I can't say that guy's name.
Dart?
Yeah, CA's our dart guy. He's our professional dart.
You could get some dart information. I was talking. I thought it's about Jackson dart.
Oh no, it's that.
I'm a little confused. Okay.
Danny's a big dart guy. You could catch it
I
on
don't know.
TV.
Darts are really popular.
They
have
huge.
big crowds. Matchroom Boxing. The owner there, Barry Hearn, Eddie Hearn's dad. Their biggest money maker isn't boxing; it's actually the darts. And I don't see it myself why how darts caught on the way it did. It doesn't seem to be as exciting to me. But obviously, I'm not putting it down. Obviously, a lot of people love it, and it has a certain culture on its own. So
I didn't even know they had these big dart tournaments until CA started following my show and commenting on it, and I started checking it out on FanDuel TV a little bit. It's kind of cool. So anyway, we'll talk about next. There's some good games coming up next week. We'll talk about.
I like that comment. Bills over the Lions in the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's the Super Bowl.
Would be the most perfect Super Bowl on two accounts. One, the Bills have never won a Super Bowl, and they finally win their Super Bowl with their rich history.
And the Lions have been there.
One in a row where they went and lost. And the Lions have never been in a Super Bowl. So if the Lions lose in the Super Bowl, it's still a great thing that they just got there. The Bills need to do more than just get there. The Lions just getting there would be good. That would be the perfect Super Bowl, I think. The perfect outcome.
That would be interesting, unless the Patriots are involved. Then I want the Patriots to get in.
Patriots have won their share of Super Bowls. It does nothing historic.
You never react to him, man. That sounds like a guy who hasn't won a Super Bowl in almost 60 years, actually.
Well, the Jets won one. That's why I think it's better for football if the Bills win a Super Bowl and the Lions get there.
And Danny's got you spot on. You're just kissing up to Danny Fuller now. That's all you're doing.
No, he's making sense. I mean, when he makes sense, I gotta comment on it. When he doesn't make sense, I'll ignore it.
Somebody's got to make sense on this show, for crying out loud. Thank you, Danny, for doing that. Anything else? The Packers with a nice win yesterday. The Texans, with a nice win yesterday. Other than that, not some interesting.
Aren't that good. People are missing the point. The 49ers have overachieved this year.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And Mac Jones has managed the games. He's been good. He's been very efficient. But in this league, you kind of want difference makers if possible. And Houston is finally getting it together. You know what Houston's problem is, the Texans? They're far behind the Colts. The Colts are 7-1, and the Texans are 3-4.
Buried themselves.
It looks like too big of a gap for the Texans to make up. So now the Texans would be in the wild card race, and a number of teams are going to take off in the wild card race. There are 3 slots left there, and the 3 slots are going to be decided between the second place, the loser of the East between the Bills and the Patriots, in good position for a wild card. You got Denver, you got the Chargers, you got the Chiefs. You only have one winner of that division in the West, but the second and third place teams are going to have winning records.
And I think you're the only guy who called the Texans yesterday, so good job. Defense played well. C.J. Stroud played a great game without any of his lead receivers. A tremendous game. So
he's getting it together. Yeah. C.J. Stroud's an example. Give a guy a few years to develop. He had a phenomenal rookie year, but he's got it together there.
Let's talk quickly. Since we're on football, let's talk about Brian Kelly before we go to the World Series. Brian Kelly, very big disappointment in LSU. The offenses have been great up until this year, and defensive has sucked. Defense is really good this year. They can't score any points. They get blown out by A&M Saturday night, but that didn't just cost him his job. He lost his job because he wouldn't fire his offensive coordinator, and he had other changes he wanted to make that the administration did not agree with, and they said, here's $54 million. We'll see you later.
I tried to look at it from both ends. Kudos to Brian Kelly for showing loyalty to his staff. But with that said, when you have all that money coming to you if they fire you, You can be bold. You can stand up to them. You could show character. Okay, they fire me. I'm going to get $54 million. I've got that insurance thing. If they didn't owe him any money at all, maybe he would have sang a different tune. I don't know. But the bottom line is he stuck with his assistant. Two other factors.
Too many guys don't. By the way, that's a great point. And too many guys don't. And you said it's easy to do when you got $54 million coming. But I've seen it a lot. Mendoza this year with the Mets, Aaron Boone a few years back. They don't stick by their assistants. They get fired. They keep their job. I hate that.
So if they have $54 million in reserve, I bet those guys would have stuck with they may have at the least.
Yeah. So
two other factors. Okay, I want to mention with this firing. Why is the AD insisting on changes at this point of the year? They're well into the year. Leave it alone. What changes are they going to make that's going to make any substantial improvement? Let Brian Kelly hang himself the rest of the year, and then in the off season, you make a move. You fire him or do whatever you want if you're the AD. Why is he insisting on it right now?
And Danny and I go about this, go back and forth on this a lot. Usually, they're not going anywhere. They're not going to fire this guy and I'll make the playoff or make the SEC championship. So, but sometimes if things have gotten so bad in the locker room that, he's got to go. I don't think that's the case in LSU, at LSU, by the way. But again, they could have saved themselves $1 million by waiting another few weeks to fire him. It would have been $53 million at the end of the year.
And my final point, and this I find mind-boggling, why on earth is the governor of Louisiana getting involved? Why? I mean, this is a coach in college, and the governor's involved in the negotiation.
Well,
the governor's going to be talking to him about the buyout, maybe taking less money, this and that. If I'm Brian Kelly, you know what I do? I just go into hiding and have my attorney handle it and don't pick up the phone and just get my money resolution and get out. They're hoping LSU, Brian Kelly, gets a job elsewhere, and that's going to minimize what they're going to have to pay him. He's going to work out some salary or whatever. But if you're a guy like Brian Kelly, it's twofold, Keith, in going forward. You're a coaching lifer. This is what you do. It's easy for you and I to say, just take the money, you're set for life, you're relaxed, play golf, chill out. He wants to coach. It's more than just about the money. It's in his blood. These guys would coach for nothing, you get the feeling.
And if he wants a job, he'll get a job. I got a feeling he may take a run at the NFL now. That's I think, because they've come after him a couple of times. He should have stayed at Notre Dame. If he stayed at Notre Dame, he'd have been there a lifetime there. He already has the most meetings there.
Why did they move from school to school? That's what I don't get.
They paid him more money, and he felt he had a better chance of winning a national championship at LSU, which I think is crazy. But academic standards being what they are, them being willing to spend more in NIL money than Notre Dame is, although they spend enough, but it's not like other schools spend. So that's why. Franklin, if James Franklin's going to have some opportunities to coach again very soon, and he wants to. And that is the 12th. Danny's right. I think it's 13 changes already. Wow. A lot in college during the season. A lot. I want to know with all these changes made, who guaranteed that contract to Brian Kelly that puts LSU on the hook for some $54 million? Because that's the guy I want to come after. That's your guy. You recommended we spend this money. You negotiated this contract. Don't tell me you want to fire the guy now. That's going to be
up with this guy now because of you having to pay him all the money.
That's the athletic director. And to be clear, a lot of people, because I got in this conversation with my wife the other day, that money doesn't cost kids going, nobody go to school there is going to get their tuition raised because they got to pay him $54 million. All of that money comes from the sports program and from alumni donors. It's not coming from the coffers of the school in general. It's out of the sports program specifically. Which
there was a controversy years ago. The male basketball coach at Connecticut, I forgot his name, great coach, won national champions.
Jim Calhoun.
Jim Calhoun, thank you. The governor of Connecticut mentioned something with the money he's getting paid. There should be some give back. Maybe Calhoun said, I'm not giving back a penny. He went right to it. Like, I'm not giving back a cent. Are you kidding me?
Oh, wow. The contract says this. I get paid this. Why should he give it back? Why? Oh, give it to the school?
Yeah.
And again, fire the AD who gave him the guarantees. You're right. These guys, well, they'll pay. CA Jack Justin Fields is still not. He hasn't thrown an interception.
I didn't realize that. I mean, I'll try to listen. You can brag on Justin Fields. He was outstanding yesterday, but come on, he was the worst quarterback in the league. He had a good game. He had a good game against the Steelers in the opener. He played pretty well, but
I got to fact check.
Let's not get carried away with Justin Fields. Kudos to him yesterday. He can have more games like that, but let's not get carried away.
It's very true. His passing rating is 92%. That's you can't go by these numbers anymore, right? Justin Fields is as bad as any quarterback, and he's got 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 92, which, by the way, at one time would have been a superstar rating. So,
that's totally deceiving, those numbers.
That's a good point, though, CA. Let's move on to the World Series quickly. We go to Game 3. Been an interesting first 2 games. I didn't see a 9-run 6th inning coming on Friday night, but Toronto just took it to who started for Snell in the 6th inning, and they just kept piling on and run away with that game. And then we get in Game 2, Yamamoto to get in today's game, to have 2 consecutive games in the playoffs, complete game victories, and just be dominant. I give kudos to him. I give kudos for Dave Roberts for not saying, oh, wait a minute, you don't pitch complete games. Got to go to my bullpen. Kudos to you, Dave Roberts. And I think the Dodgers could win out from here. We got Glasnow and Scherzer tonight. Yeah. But because Scherzer turned back the clock a little bit his last start, only for 5+ innings, but he looked like the old Max Scherzer a lot during that last game against the Mariners. Can he do that again tonight? I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, that's funny. The names are magic. You hear Max Scherzer, you're thinking of a future Hall of Famer, great pitcher. And if it was the Max Scherzer of old and the prime of his career, you'd figure, wow, I love Toronto's chances tonight, to go up 2. And I think the Dodgers are going to win the next 3 at home. Maybe Toronto will grab a game in LA, but if I'm the Dodgers, I'm not worried as far as losing the series. But if Toronto should go up 2-1, you got to be very concerned. Any team that's down 2-1. But the Dodgers for Game 4, they have Tyler Glasnow going tonight. Game 4, they'll have Ohtani going in LA.
Ohtani will go in Game 4. I'm surprised because if they pitched Ohtani in Game 3, he would have come back for Game 7.
He could be in the bullpen Game 7 and for long relief if
that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, he could give you 5 innings if you need, for Game 7. So they're positioned pretty, nicely that way. And Ohtani worked a little out of the bullpen, but before the postseason, so he's kind of a little. I just think he's used to that routine.
Yeah, Dodgers haven't hit a lot, but I think they will. And might be tonight. I love Scherzer, but his best days are behind him. Glasnow's a better pitcher at this point, and this might come down to bullpens tonight. So we'll see.
Well, Dodgers bullpen has been their weak link this year. I don't put teams down. I've gotten into this discussion with you. If you make the right moves in the offseason and trade deadline and you address weaknesses and it still doesn't work out, it's on the players that just didn't perform. We had this discussion about the Yankees. If their bullpen imploded, like Brian Cashman made all the moves. The Dodgers made all the moves, especially before the season. They had what we thought was a great bullpen, the Dodgers, going into the season, and they just haven't performed. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it so someone doesn't perform. Have you heard outside of the World Series, the talk with Bryce Harper being a bit upset?
Well, because his general manager throws him under the bus a little bit by saying he's not an elite player anymore and doesn't know if he can be again. I mean, that's why disrespect your best player. There's no reason to say what he said. None.
And, sometimes things are taken out of context. You're caught a little off guard, and you're not sure whether the guy would be an elite play again. And Harper takes it really personally. And then Harper's upset because his name comes up in trade talk. That should have been shot down immediately with the Phillies saying, no, Harper's going to be a Philly for the rest of his career, and he's going to go into the Hall of Fame as a Philadelphia Philly. That's the way you answer that. But with that, and Harper has a no trade clause. But with that said, I think Harper to the Yankees could be a very interesting fit. You play him at first base. And you play him at first base. You still have Stanton 1 or 2 more years as your DH, Judge in right field. And Ben Rice could split catching with Austin Wells and maybe win the job. Let him kind of compete for that job, and you're set. But what would you be giving? But Harper, you'd have to give something for him. What can you give for him? Maybe Ben Rice would be part of the deal.
If you're going to trade, Ben Rice is going to have to be part of that deal, I would think, 100%.
What else?
Dominguez, I would trade for. I'd put him in that trade because he has
Dominguez. What else?
Probably some prospects. I'm not going.
What about any of their starting pitchers? Their rookie of the year.
If I had to trade one of the starting pitchers, I'm not trading one of the kids. I'm trading Heel. I'll trade you Heel. I'm not trading you anybody else. Yeah.
I would trade you Ben Rice, Heel, Dominguez. Does it get it done? Interesting.
I don't know. I might consider Will Warren. It's not going to be Sheetler. It's not going to be him at all. Never.
Would you look at the farm and maybe take a chance in George Lombard? Trade him, thinking because he hasn't hit on the minor league level. So
a lot of guys don't. A lot of guys don't hit in the minors, so I'm not going to hold that against him. I personally, I don't know that I changed Lombard because I like him a lot, and also I'm not sure about Volpe yet. So
I still have faith in Volpe. I still think he can get it together.
If you have faith in him, and I got to trade him, I'm not going to give him all those guys. If Lombard goes, then the package gets smaller in my mind.
Yeah. Something along those lines.
But I'd love to have him here. He's become a really good defensive first baseman, by the way, which, again, Danny, you would like to have him on the Dodgers. I think anybody would like to have him. But where are you going to play him on the Dodgers? He can't DH. He can't play first base because you got Freeman. I don't know where they play him. So maybe they move him back to the outfield. I don't know. But it's an interesting thought. A little bit of boxing news over the weekend before we head into Glove Fist tonight with you and Frank. I lost you. You're muted somehow.
Yeah, I got a text message during the show telling me, about early voting or this or that, and text message. I got out. I did early voting for the first time, Keith. It's actually
huge.
Good.
150,000 people have voted in the city already. It's crazy.
Yeah. So Joseph Parker got upset by Fabio Wardley in a big heavyweight fight this weekend. I feel bad for Joseph Parker. He got stopped in the 11th round. Some people think the stoppage was premature.
Yeah.
I can't say I felt that. Could have gone either way in that regard, though. But Parker was on the verge of a title shot with Alexander Usyk, but he took a chance. He took a fight in the interim, and it kind of backfired on him. So we don't know whether Usyk fights Wardley next, what the situation will be. We have a guest on our show, Glove Fist, tonight. We have Dr. Michael Schwartz, the head ringside physician in the state of Connecticut. He's going to be on discussing boxing safety, and he's going to discuss some of the fights he was a physician for, such as the Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward first fight.
Well, ask about stopping that fight. Should it have been stopped or not? I thought I saw the highlight. And Frank mentioned in a post that he thought it was stopped too soon too. And Wardley's kind of thrown down the gauntlet. Didn't he call out Usyk and say, "Let's do this"? Pretty much.
Yeah, Wardley has absolutely no chance of beating Usyk.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has a chance. Usyk is head and shoulders above Wardley. He could call him out all he wants. It's not an even fight.
Danny, thanks for getting all those texts congratulating you on the Jet win yesterday. Good job.
Yeah.
Well, good
Thank
job
you.
today, guys. Thanks for all the great job with all the comments, Jack. Great job today, as always. Jack will be on tonight with Frank, as we said, at 7:00 Eastern with Glove Fist, and I'll see you Wednesday night with the college football huddle. We're getting closer to that first college football poll, which is next week. So, college football playoff poll, I should say, and that's going to be when things really start to get interesting. Guys, we'll see you on Friday as well, 8 a.m. I'll make it clear next Monday. I guess is that Friday we're going to do that, Jack?
No. Friday's normal. Next Monday, we have to maybe do the show a little early in the morning.
We'll talk about that. You guys might see us a little early, Danny. You might have to get up in the middle of the night to watch this. See you guys.